Welcome, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in Napa Valley, and it's time for Tech on 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yay!
Tech. Tech. This is an interactive webcast where we encourage you to join on camera by clicking Start Your Webcam on ToutSuite.com. If you are too shy for that, you can watch by viewing live video on the same page and tweeting us at 5 o'clock, which has the number 5 and spelled out 5 o'clock, or at ToutSocial. Go to ToutSuite.com and choose the way that you want to join our show. So I'm Susan Quinn of ToutSuite Social Club, and I'd like to introduce some of the co-hosts for our new venture, which is the 5 o'clock somewhere show. We have tonight, I'm going to start right over here, Tia Budd.
Hello, everybody.
Tia, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Tia Budd, as she said, and I started out as a broadcast journalist originally, and have had the good fortune of talking to all kinds of interesting people, from vice presidents to celebrities to criminals and the average everyday Joe like yourself and myself. And since then, I moved on, and for the last 13 years, I've been doing PR and marketing in the wine industry. And I've now moved on from that because, as you'll hear from our guest, I'm embracing uncertainty and taking a leap of faith and going off into the wild blue yonder to, I'm not quite sure yet, but that's kind of why I'm here.
All right. Thank you, Tia. And what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about people, really. I mean, that's my big thing. I love hearing people's stories, and I love helping to tell them. So that's one of my big passions.
All right. Thank you. And next we have Johnny. And Johnny Mota?
Yeah, it's Mota. It's
Mota.
Spanish, yeah.
I knew it was there was a little flourish with it.
A little bit of everything. I'm pretty much everything except for, actually, I don't know. I'm a little bit of everything. So my background is I write for several different publications in technology mainly. I write for Rave Publications, which is the world's largest audio-video specific publication. I write for SF New Tech. They are all about startups, and in San Francisco, there's literally a startup every 5 minutes. It's no joke. That's every 2 weeks. I write for Geek TV. I write for Love Gadget, a few other all tech related, and that's kind of my background. My main job is system integrator, so I would take everything in this room and control it from your iPhone. Simple as that.
All right.
That's what I do.
Well, thank you for coming. Your passion.
Oh, I love art. Aside from technology, obviously.
And
art.
lamp.
And lamp.
And I had to ask you what that meant.
Lamp, yeah.
If you ever seen Anchorman, there's a segment where
Ron Burgundy.
he just points out, he's like, I love lamp. I'm like, I love lamp too.
I love it too. After your explanation, it sounded really cool. I have to watch the movie.
You know, Anchorman 2 is coming out.
Apparently
all this, sorry, sidebar, all these goods got stolen from the set recently, I guess. It was a big thing. Like, they got robbed, and it was like people came in and stole wiring. It was like a really random, you know.
I sold the wiring from Anchorman too.
What about the Ron Burgundy moustache?
Yeah.
Does that go as well?
No, that's fake.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's real. Okay.
All right, Carrie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie Hardy with the Napa Valley Film Festival. I do marketing with them, and then also social media. So,
passion. I know you have some.
I have a lot. How much time do we have again? So I would say definitely food and wine are some of the biggest things that I like to, be a part of. The outdoors, adventure, people as well as Tia. So.
And we'll be getting to know a lot more about our co-hosts. We have two back here as well, who you may have met last night. And we're going to be keeping on to introduce all of them and get to know them from a real face-to-face, one-on-one basis throughout the entire lifetime of 5 o'clock somewhere. James, and I'm going to let you do that and then go right into introducing your amazing
Sure. So I'm James Taylor, and I was transplanted from Scotland to the warm soils of Northern California. So I'm very happy to be here and to have left a country which has 3 months of rain and 9 months of bad weather. So I work for an incredible company that's actually based here in Napa. You don't get many tech companies in Napa. It's normally wine and food. So it's a company called ArtistWorks. And ArtistWorks is now the largest provider of online music lessons. And so you can now get music lessons from Eric Clapton's bass player. You can do it all online with some of our teachers. And so we have people in about 58 countries around the world that learn our school. So,
and we share a parking lot.
We do share a parking lot.
We may be the only two tech companies in
Yeah,
Napa.
yeah. This lovely old tannery building, and it's when I first came here, everyone said it's great because this is a really, really old building you're going to be in. It was 1923 or something, which is
and they have no internet.
European. And they have no internet, and even now it's a little bit dicey. So so yeah,
I'll hook you up.
Yeah. So my big passion is books and learning, and so I'm super excited. This is the first show we've had on the tech show to have an incredible writer, and we're really lucky to have him. I was first introduced to his writing over the holidays, and I'm going to talk to you about with the author about his new book. His name is Chris Guillebeau, and he is a writer, entrepreneur, and traveler. And during a lifetime of self-employment and ventures ranging from online publishing to volunteer work in Africa, he has visited, and we'll get the exact numbers from nearly every country in the world. And I think he's not even 35 yet, so we'll have to check with that. So his latest book is this, and this is a great book I'm going to be talking about. It's called The $100 Startup. And it was an instant New York Times bestseller and Wall Street Journal bestseller. And the book is about kind of reinventing your life, the way you live, and doing what you love and creating a new future. So I'd like to welcome onto the show, Chris.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Cheers to all of you. I brought my own bottle of bourbon.
Woohoo! Oh, yeah. So what do you have in there?
Yeah,
What's that? What is it? Someone just gave it to me today. Actually, it's a gift. That's why it's in my office and not downstairs. So it's something called Temperance Trader, maybe local to Oregon. No idea.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Drink, shot.
So, but before we kind of get into talking about the book, and I mean, you're up in Portland just now, but this must be a kind of rare occasion when you're actually at home in Portland. But where did you grow up? You know, tell me where things started.
Sure. Well, I live in Portland about half the time. I'm traveling about half the time, and then I'm based here in Oregon about the other half. I grew up a lot of different places. I had a step-parent who was in the American Air Force, so he kept getting deployed all these different places. So I lived in the Philippines for a couple of years. I lived in California. I lived in Virginia. I lived in Montana. So I did travel a bit as a kid, sometimes against my wishes. I was just kind of being taken, place to place. But in the long run, that was probably good because then as I got older, I started traveling on my own and started really enjoying it. And then, as you mentioned briefly, I spent about 4 years living overseas in West Africa. That was about age 22 to 26 or so, and that was just a great transformative experience for me in terms of seeing more of the world and understanding a different side of the world. And so that's kind of what led to the whole quest to visit every country thing.
So the question everyone had here was, how many countries have you traveled to now?
Well, I'm very fortunate that as of now, as of last week, I've been to 192 out of 193 countries. So, well, thank you. I'm really excited because this has been a 10-year project, and I just went to Tuvalu in the South Pacific last week, right after New Year's. So that was 192, and before that, I went to Guinea-Bissau in West Africa, which was 191. So both of those were kind of difficult countries, but now it should be good. So.
Chris, I have a question for you. It's probably maybe a silly one, but are you counting in your collection of all the countries that you've been to? Are you counting the time that you spent traveling around with your family and your father-in-law?
Oh, that's a good question. I think so, but I don't think there's many countries that kind of fit that category. I mean, we were in the Philippines for 2 years when I was a kid, so I count that. It wasn't just a stopover or something. And then I think maybe the only other country that fit that category would be Korea, but I've also since been back there, a few times.
So it was mostly states or within the states that you were traveling around?
Mostly as a kid, yes. I started a lot of the international stuff later.
Cool.
And so you've been traveling to all these amazing countries, and there's basically two themes in the book. One is kind of freedom, and the other one's about values. So you kind of come from that tradition of the Thoreaus and the Hemingways and people that really people that kind of go and travel, go out into the world. I mean, so how do you define freedom for yourself?
Yes, I mean that's very kind of you to say. I think when I think about freedom, what it all started for me was a simple question of independence. For me, it was not so much about doing big things or changing the world. For me, in the beginning, it was how can I live my own life? How can I determine my own priorities and set my own schedule? And how can I not, work a traditional job for someone else? I wasn't a very good employee. So it's not like I was a natural entrepreneur. I wasn't good at working for anybody else. So that's kind of so for me, freedom started with, my own personal self-discovery. How can I do anything, legally, morally, but still kind of earn my own living? That's how it started. And I think, there's always an evolution as we go through things. And now I think of freedom as a bit more broad, perhaps. Freedom is the opportunity to choose, the opportunity to create, the opportunity to contribute something. But it took me a while to come to that.
And where did the kind of non-conformity bit? I mean, the book before $100 Startup was about the art of non-conformity. So tell us, what's the kind of thinking behind non-conformity?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So after I spent the 4 years in West Africa, I moved back to the States, and I had been an entrepreneur. I had worked on my own, for the previous 5 to 7 years or so. I had been to maybe 50 countries or so at that point. And so I thought, well, this is somewhat interesting, but I feel like I have all these different things, and there's nothing that ties them all together. And I was turning 30, and I wanted to be a writer. I thought, well, I want to share something, but I have no platform. I'd like to write a book, but what could that possibly be about? And so that's when I started the blog, and I decided to call the blog The Art of Nonconformity, because I thought, what unites all these different things, what unites not just my own travel, but everyone else's aspiration to travel, lots of people exploring the world and, taking a year off or finding a way to integrate their work with their travel, as well as the whole self-employment revolution, the micro-entrepreneurship revolution, as well as just thinking about the world in a different way. Whether through charity, whether through, the academy, whether through something different. So nonconformity was essentially the theme that kind of linked all of these different things together, or so I thought.
And you talk about, there's a great chapter in the book, it's called Follow Your Passion, ... maybe.
Right.
What's the ... maybe mean? So everyone talks about, everyone, you hear it on,
if you have
TV.
a revenue model.
Follow your passion. Everyone talks to follow your passion. But tell us about the maybe part.
Sure. Well, right. So the maybe part. Well, I think it's important to ask someone, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? What's the goal? What do you hope to do? And there's all kinds of things that you can be passionate about that are fine and well and like a great hobby for you. But if it is something that you're trying to, achieve freedom with, if it is something you are trying to create a small business with, then not everything you're passionate about can, make a good business. And so for the $100 startup, we went all over the world. We looked at all different kinds of case studies, and a lot of people did follow their passion, but they didn't just follow their own passion. They focused on how that passion was valuable, as you said earlier, on how it was helpful and useful to other people and how they could form a connection or a convergence between these things. So that's kind of the distinction. And we looked at how people had found that convergence in different ways.
Fantastic. And so when you've been traveling to all these countries, are you bumping into lots of other people like yourself who, digital nomads and, kind of, they've decided that same kind of lifestyle? What's your take on how to live that life of location independence, of being able to travel all the time and still have a business that kind of generates money for you?
Yes, no, great questions. Well, I bump into a lot of different people. I wouldn't say they're all like myself. I would say they're all interesting, unconventional people in their own way. Many of them are doing different kind of projects. Many of them are probably doing much more successful things than I'm doing. And when the first book came out, I went to all 50 states in the U.S. and every province in Canada. And then, of course, all the international stops as well. And I kept meeting all these different people who had found that freedom for themselves. And they all did it in a way of connecting that freedom with something valuable, right? Freedom and value. So when you talk about digital nomads or being location independent, I find that the missing piece with a lot of that is really the business model. Because a lot of people say, well, I want to travel the world. I want to go and explore. And I'm like, that's great. Maybe that should be separate in some ways, from building your business. Maybe it's easier to actually build a business from home, wherever home is, and then find a way to take that on the road. Because if you go on the road, you're not going to have as much time to develop the business as you might at home.
Can I ask, how would you translate the concept of being a digital nomad if you actually don't leave home? Can you stay home and have a staycation?
You're a digital recluse.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so I think freedom is the most important thing, because if you have freedom, then you have opportunity and you can make your own choices and you can travel if you want, or you can remain a digital recluse, or maybe something that kind of combines both. I actually like having a home base. I actually like, having a place that I'm, I can be in one place and I can work on my projects, and I have a team here that I work with, but then I go and travel and do my other stuff as well. So I think, again, freedom is the goal, right? And then what you do with that freedom, that's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
If I can add something too, just because I'm in this process right now, and by the way,
great.
if you're a fan of your blog, read it regularly, it's part of my feed. But I am just curious to know, because I think the initial step to freedom involves fear on some level. and I wonder what your recommendations are to people who get mired down in fear, or who aren't sure how to get beyond that first step, to start down that path.
Right. I think more often than just being mired down in fear, they're mired down in inaction, or in the lack of knowing perhaps what the next step is. Because I think all of us are fearful of all kinds of things. And, if there's anything to be afraid of, I think it's kind of, remaining in that situation where you're stuck, or remaining in a situation that's not helpful or beneficial or, meaningful to you in the future. So I don't know. I guess I'm very action focused. I'm very practical focused, perhaps even to a fault. But I'm really interested in encouraging people. How can we, instead of like planning something for 8 months or 12 months or whatever, instead of like writing a 60-page document that no one else is ever going to read or follow, what can we do in 30 days, to get closer to that action? And then I think it's self-reinforcing after a certain point, right? Because if you take some action, even if it's a small action, if you've never had a product or a service before and you put it online and one person buys it, it feels very empowering, right? But if you delay that process, 8 months, then I think you just have the potential for more and more fear to come in, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you have more that's invested in it. So
take action. That's the first step. Set a goal and take action.
Yeah, take action and reduce risk as well. Like, think about what really is risky. And, a lot of the small businesses that we looked at, hence the title of the book, The $100 Startup, they did not spend much money, to get started. And so, if you have to borrow, 6 figures or more money, then that's certainly risky. And maybe that's what you need to do, to achieve a certain degree of success. But a lot of people that we saw just started with what they had, and therefore they didn't take a risk. And if it didn't work out, then it wasn't a huge deal. They could do something different.
But that's very different from what we were just talking, about all the startup culture here in, especially Northern California, the Bay Area, where you were saying it's VCs, and I heard a friend of mine the other day got funded for his business. It was an idea in his head, and he received like $15 million to start it. So that's the stuff that gets all the attention. The kind of business that you were talking around, the $100 startups. You don't see them ever really written about. So, what's your take on that whole kind of media thing of playing in?
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. So in some ways, this is a totally different world. This is a completely different world from that kind of VC, angel investing, startup world. And I know nothing about that world. So there's other experts, who are much better than me. The world that I know is individuals, all over the world, of different ages, all different backgrounds, most of whom never went to business school, who all kind of pursued that line of inquiry around their passion or their skill, or around something that they had discovered that they were helpful in or could be useful in, and then created a business model out of that. And then at some point, maybe some of them do take some investment, but for the most part, they're very much focused on, how can I grow this business not to a hugely scalable level, but to a level that provides a good income. So it's essentially a very different model, and I don't think it's better or worse than any other model, but I'm mostly writing for individuals, whereas I think a lot of traditional startups are more for organizations or for small groups.
A lifestyle business.
Yeah, and it's funny here in the Bay Area,
Absolutely.
if you say a lifestyle business here, many people in the Bay Area, it's a derogatory term. Oh, well, that's fine. That's a lifestyle.
Right.
You want a lifestyle?
You want a lifestyle business,
Right.
And it's but I know, you've been reading Chris's blogs a lot longer than us. So what kind of first got you introduced to Chris's writing?
I think actually I found you through Twitter, in all honesty.
Oh, okay.
It was something inspirational that caught my eye, and so I clicked on it, and that's how I landed on your blog, and I loved it and began following that day. And I think it had to do, it was actually the first blog I read had something to do with setting goals and actually putting together your plan, as you do your annual plan,
yes,
which you talked about. And actually that leads me into one of my next questions, because how do you maybe talk a little bit about that for people, about how you do write an annual plan for yourself? In brief, obviously, you go into this on your blog, but I think that's part of like making big decisions. And so how do you make big decisions, and how do you get started?
No, great question. Yeah, this began about 5 years ago, I think. At the end of a year, I took a vacation with my wife, and we spent a whole week kind of thinking about how the year had been. We were in a kind of a time of transition because we had left Africa and we're starting new projects. She had become an artist, and I was starting the blog. And so out of this tradition, I started doing it every year, spending a week in December, kind of looking back and saying, okay, what went well about this year? And here we are just in the beginning of 2013. So if anybody's watching for the first time, you can still do this. What went well in 2012, what did not go well, making a list, of each kind of thing, and then thinking ahead to the next year and thinking, okay, what do I hope to achieve? A year from now, looking back, what do I hope the outcomes and the deliverables will be? And then I started setting a number of, goals according to different categories. So I would set business goals, I would set writing goals, travel goals. At the time, I was, moving into this journey to every country, and then created a system of just measuring those metrics. And I made a spreadsheet which anyone can download for free on the website. And it's funny because I wasn't ever a huge planner, but doing this process really made a big difference for me. It really helped me kind of quantify things and get things in a step-by-step, plan that I could follow. So that's one of the best things that has really helped me. And so that's why we made it available to other people on the site.
You really see the future, where you're headed.
Exactly.
Right? It's so hard, especially with that fear factor you're talking about.
Totally.
How do you make up where you want to go? That's, I think, maybe the number one thing.
And they don't all have to be huge. Like, I don't think, like, when you write down a goal, I think sometimes people also maybe overshoot it for themselves. I mean, would you say?
It shows them where they've been as well.
Right.
You can't make a plan for somewhere where you want to go without knowing where you've been. And the process completed. It's kind of interesting after a couple of years to look at it and think, wow, look at that change, or, didn't do so well there,
Totally.
And that's usually motivational.
Yeah, I think that record keeping is key. And that's awesome.
I know I made a mistake about 10 years ago, and I said to myself, I was having one of those moments where I didn't even know I was goal setting, and I said, what I want to be, what I really, really want to be someday is a wise old woman. Guess what happened? All kinds of bad stuff started happening. And I'm like, oh, now I have a way to...
So wait, how many cats do you have?
Not yet. But that was not a really... Then I realized everything that's happening to me on that path is to make you a wise old woman, you have to have some kind of crap and shit happen to you.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
oh,
why did I
and
see
that's
that?
a good point, because actually one of the things you wrote about just recently, I want to say in the last few days, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, had something to do with about getting over how other people view you. Or a lot of us get hung up on, what's so-and-so going to think about what I'm doing? Or, and again, as a person who's going through this now, I face those struggles at some point, it seems like every day, where I run across a friend who sort of gives me that look like... Judgment. So, it's the judgment thing, like, you left your job, and why? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think, comparison is one of those things where you're never really going to get over it. I think it is always something like that, it's going to come up, or it's kind of like, what you mentioned earlier about how there's like, bad things that happen along the way. But I guess, again, I just try to focus on outcomes. Like, what are we trying to do here? What's the goal, right? And if you have those negative people that say things, make sure you have some positive people too, right? There's a lot of people doing really interesting things now. There are a lot of, you're not alone, in this situation that you're in. There's so many people that are breaking out and kind of going in their own way. And so it doesn't mean you have to say goodbye to your old friends, but you need a new community as well, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
So at some point in the next couple of weeks, you're going to be going to your final country on that list. Wow. I mean, that's a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal to make all those countries. So what, you've hit that pinnacle, you've climbed that Everest. What does the future hold for you?
James, that's a good question. It actually scares me to death because I've been doing this for
Speaking of fear.
And it was maybe a year and a half ago that I have to give credit to my wife, Jolie, because a year and a half ago, she was like, I really want you to start thinking about what comes next because this is going to be a big thing. And I was like, I'm sure it's going to be fine. Like, I'll move on and do something different, But maybe about 6 months ago, I started really worrying about this, because I was like, this has been a big part of my identity. Like, people are like, who is Chris Guillebeau? Oh, he's this guy who's going to every country in the world. right?
Yeah.
So I can probably like skate on that for a little while, like a few months after. But you don't want to be doing that for years, right? You don't want to be like, for the next 5 years, like I'm the guy who did that, like that's just no fun, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I love what I do. I feel very fortunate that I can travel, that I can write, that I have this great community. So I plan to keep serving them. I plan to keep writing and keep traveling. But I think I'm going to need to shift some things around as well. And so I'm trying to figure that out myself. But we're having a big party in Norway. Norway is the final country. We'll be there in April for my 31st birthday.
Are you going to go to Noma? The restaurant? Noma.
I don't know.
That's the best restaurant in the world. And it happens to be, I think, in
since LBE closed down. I mean.
Okay. Well, we have a place booked. We have like a venue booked already, but I don't know if we have all our dinner plans sorted. So so far, I think we have 200 or 300 people that are coming to join us for this big, finale. So any of the viewers are welcome to come as well.
We'll hook you up. We'll call Thomas Keller right down the street and get you a reservation at Nomad. Yeah.
So we're just going to finish up now on this segment of the show. But where can people find out more about your books, your writing, and some of the? I know you got this World Domination Summit coming up, and I'd like just what that's all about.
Sure. Well, I'm pretty easy to find. My main website is chrisguillebeau.com, which no one could ever spell. But if you type in something similar to that in Google, you'll find me. Chris Guillebeau on Twitter. You mentioned World Domination Summit. That's worlddominationsummit.com. That's our annual gathering in Portland. This year we have 3,000 people coming, so I hope you'll make the trip if you can.
I've never
the book
been
is called The $100 Startup.
But that's not a country.
Why don't we do a remote show while they're there during the summit?
Exactly. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Do it.
Well, thanks very much, Chris, for being on the show, and I hope you'll stay with us as we kind of move on to the other parts.
Absolutely. I've got my bottle of bourbon. I'm ready to go. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And feel free to jump in, too. So our next segment is going to be just kind of a roundtable discussion. We have some drinks flowing. We have our friends here in our live studio audience. We're just joined by David Bridges and his puppy dog.
Well, let's hear from the peanut gallery. You guys were listening during a lot of that segment. What do you think? I mean,
come on up a little closer to the mic.
Absolutely loved it. I mean, I do have a fantastic question going on because, well, I took the leap into the $100 startup or the £70 startup or whatever it was at the time. The £20 startup, however long ago it was. And actually, what then emanated from that was that a business grew, and it grew, and then that became a monster. And then I'm trying to get rid of that now. So I'm trying to get rid of the monster, but now I've got a business that emanates from that, which is very much got freedom written all over it. And but that also frees me up with enough time to actually think about another. So I've got like a Russian doll, $100 startup.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've got the great analogy.
Yeah, Russian doll. So I'm just about to start another $100 startup because I've got my $100 startup, and that's taken over just fine.
That's great.
So I've got another one that I'm just to keep things exciting.
That's very
as well as the wine.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So that was my thought.
So, Johnny, are you okay? Do you need a drink?
No, I'm good.
All right, you guys. Oh, I didn't
Quiet over here. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
So, what do you guys want to do? Want to hang out?
You want to talk about new things that happened today?
Yeah, well, I think,
What happened?
that's
What
the
happened?
next
Tell
thing.
us.
Not all that great of awesomeness, but Facebook launched their whole new search campaign. It's beta right now, but it's really kind of taking a little bit more of the piece of the pie out of Google, and enabling people as users to go back and look at Facebook posts that were done years ago on timelines before that was even a timeline, it was still a wall, or their photos that they posted years ago, and you're like, I remember that one photo, but I don't know where it is. So now it gives you that search option, which kind of takes away, I mean, in my own personal belief, what real time is for social media and how important it is to be real time with social media. And it's kind of, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you can refer back to things that you probably would never be able to refer back to, but at the same time, it kind of takes a little bit of that, amazingness that you just keep going and you can't search, because if you search, you're going to get bored. But and it also takes away a little bit from Foursquare as well and Yelp. So it'll be interesting to see, how things progress. I don't know, Johnny and I were talking before the show. He said it was an invite-only thing right now?
It's a beta thing, and you have to invite. I think some people are actually getting it now.
So developers can probably.
Yeah, probably. But you have to, if you want to do it, sign up for it. It actually sounded like, versus, like you're talking about real time looking for your photos, you can actually go and look for your photos or your photos or your photos.
Anyone's photos, and you don't even have to be friends with them, correct?
And so, yes, and that actually made me think of, like, they bought Instagram, and so what they do with hashtags, you're looking for, wine, friends and I that drink wine, or wherever. So it's like their hashtag search without the hashtag.
Right.
And are there still going to be privacy settings, though, for those people who don't want?
I would imagine.
I believe so.
I would have to think so.
Does this have sort of any relevance on the big Instagram fail where they changed the privacy, that we can share? Was that, do you think, connected to that? Because this is now the search
they
thing.
came back and said, okay, we were just kidding. We heard you. We're mad.
Yeah.
We edited it. We're not stealing your stuff. Just kidding.
There's a lot of things though that Facebook has done that, they get a lot of backlash, and it'll be interesting to see with this whole search feature what happens, because there's a lot of people that just kind of roll with whatever Facebook comes out with, and Mark Zuckerberg is like, I think we all amazing, and then there's some people that are like, I don't like that.
So,
I don't like that.
Do you think this is a kind of retaliation? Because I know a lot of the people that speak to Google, there's this whole mantra there. It's kind of like, let's kill Facebook. Especially at Google Plus and how hard they're pushing on Google Plus.
I'm kind of imagining the campus right now.
So it's like on Facebook, they're saying, let's kill Google search. Let's kill Google search. Is that what you think it's about, or do you think because it's really blurring now, a lot of these lines where, like, Facebook, that's where I used to kind of go and put cat pictures up and stuff, and Google that's where I kind of found that information, and all those things are blurring really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got lost when you said cat pictures because I just didn't get the phenomena, and I tried to do it the other day on our business profile, and it just tanked, and I'm thinking to myself, what is it with this whole cat thing?
Yeah.
I'm not understanding, but
There's people out there.
why did you comment?
I don't
understand.
I'm going to be a cat in another life, so I'm just training for it. So that's it.
So apart from the Facebook search, what other interesting things have been going on in the past couple of days?
MySpace just today made it available for everyone. I know everyone's like, what did you just say? Yes, I said MySpace.
Is MySpace going business?
That was my question when I saw them in the news today. Apparently they're trying to do a whole new interface, a whole new operating system, for people that, makes it easier, obviously more integrated with music. However, how much more integrated can they be? That was the best move that they ever made. But they kind of coincided it with the new launch of Justin Timberlake's new album. So they dropped the new album, they dropped the new MySpace, and I'm thinking to myself,
because he owns it, right?
Does he?
He owns MySpace. So,
or does he have?
Justin Timberlake is bringing sexy back. By sexy, I mean MySpace, which is actually looks like the new Instagram, and Pinterest had a baby and put a filter on it.
Really?
It looks a lot like that.
I thought all boys
Well, that
crisscross boys.
that
the crisscross.
that is absolutely fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Because can MySpace actually make a comeback with somebody like Justin Timberlake? And he did play Sean Parker in the movie, right?
I have no idea what you just said.
No, that was you have no idea what I said.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, see, I'm really slow.
Well, this is. I was talking to someone the other day, a manager of a big band, about it, and he was saying that when MySpace first came out, he was taking acts to record labels, and the first question he would ask was like, okay, how many MySpace friends have you got? And for years there was a lot of artists were spending huge amounts of time, huge amounts of effort trying to build their following on MySpace. And what good was that? And I worry that I see a lot of the same thing going on with Facebook, is that people are so driven to getting their number of likes up on Facebook that they kind of really miss the point about the engagement.
It's the hugest misconception, and I mean, it's part of what I do as my job, and even my boss will say, let's get the likes up, let's get this up. Yeah. That's not my purpose, and that's not my, it doesn't, and it doesn't converge into past sales, it doesn't converge into engagement. I want that engagement. I want people to constantly be in you know, or for us to
Well,
constantly be in their
It's a
mind.
Come back and
problem of-
engage,
It's a problem of wanting instant gratification.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's usually things to measure,
Absolutely.
and there's now,
But
you know,
the numbers truly don't mean anything.
No.
And anyone who
Like
says
some
any
people's
different,
sales
I'd
or money
love
or
for you to chime in right now.
yeah, yeah. There's, I mean, one of the
ToutSuite.com.
one of the things we saw recently was a competitor who suddenly got a huge growth in its Facebook fans, and we kind of looked into it a little bit more, looked into the traffic, and it looks like what they've been doing, and this has become a much bigger thing of actually buying Facebook
Advertising.
Live. Not even advertising, actually just, you know, paying. And if you look at where the traffic comes from, it comes from kind of dubious countries, you know, where they're paying people like, you pay $100 and that gets me 10,000 likes. And so that's, you know, you can, and I think some VCs and even CEOs of companies are being fooled by this because their marketing department is being so pushed to get those numbers up that they're kind of going, I'm just going to buy these. I'm just going to buy these numbers, even though it's not going to make a blind bit of difference to our sales.
Right.
Well, I think it's also a transition from, you know, traditional marketing where impressions are huge and impressions are everything. And it's the same thing now for digital marketing. Everyone needs a like, everyone needs a follow, and they think that will equal an impression and that will equal the conversion that you need, and it's just not the case.
So I'll go out and say this. I'll say from experience in marketing and PR, you know, from my experience is in buying sometimes some of these Facebook ads, and we've done it not where we're going out to get 10,000 likes or anything, but just a basic ad for a client where you're targeting, you know, specific types of people in the U.S. to get, you know, who like French wine, for example, who are between age or whatever and live in these states, that, you know, it can work on some level, knowing that there's going to be some attrition, there's going to be some people who like it and then maybe never come back to the page. But sometimes if your content is good, it's a combined effort. If the content is good, then you will find that some people stay and they continue to engage and engagement goes up. But it has to be all-encompassing. It can't just be, we're just going to buy these and let it go, you know, like it has to be a total 360 effort.
I'm going to take this moment to I just had an idea. We should do a 5:40, see the clock?
Yes.
5:40, what are you drinking moment.
Yes. What are we drinking?
Because I was supposed to do this way earlier.
This is good. This is nice.
This is our house wine of the month, and I think we should do this every time, because what we're doing here tonight, you guys, and every night for this 2 weeks, weeknights, is we're experimenting, and we're having a good time. We're going to try to be as real and as personable and as cool and bring you the most interesting stuff that we can, and you need to give us your feedback. But one of the things, I just had this thought. It's 5:40, and I'm going to talk to you about the Reynolds Family Winery. We are drinking the Persistence 2007 blend, which apparently we love.
Nice.
Yeah, very good.
So and where's the shop?
I haven't had any. I've been drinking something else.
Are we drinking Napa wine then?
This is Napa wine. Tonight, we can drink anything we want.
Okay, this is America.
Where's the Zaya from? Trinidad rum.
That's me. That's
Trader
me.
Joe's vodka, which happens to be my favorite. I love Trader Joe's vodka, and I love Trader Joe's grapefruit juice. It's $3.69.
Yeah, Trader Joe's is awesome.
It's like half the
Smells
price
really
of,
good,
and it tastes better than, you know, the stuff you can buy at the grocery store. Back to this. Oh, no. I'm going to have some of it right now.
Oh, you are.
Help you.
you.
All right. Those are heavy bullets.
And why don't you introduce yourself?
And this is David Richardson. David is a big part of ToutSuite. So, anyway, did you get that shot of the bottle? So, thank you, Gracie. And you know what? We're not shy to talk about our back of the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gracie Quinn is back there operating all the
Bravo.
I vote for a Gracie cam. I think we should have a Gracie cam.
I had that idea. I wanted a Gracie cam at the table.
Yeah, totally. We need a Gracie
cam. And then I
cam.
can pick it up and do any food trucks we need.
Bring in the GC.
So Gracie is the mystery guest of the night, I guess.
Please chime in.
We'll meet Gracie later on, for sure.
So you recently went to a conference, right?
Yeah.
And there were
No,
tech
I
gadgets,
did
or
not
no, you didn't.
go,
Okay,
no.
excuse me.
No, I wish I could
stand
go.
corrected.
But it did happen.
Yeah.
Without me, of course.
But you know about it then. What is it called?
It's called International CES, Custom Electronic Show. It's the biggest tech show in the world. Gadgets, watches, every gadget in the world pretty much is there. And this year I didn't go. A lot of friends who went, and it was headphones. Everyone and their friend and their celebrity friend had headphones.
New types of headphones? Like,
New
what was
types.
different about them?
Everyone's had a new brand. The biggest thing, I think, is it's headphones and wireless technology, Bluetooth, and a wireless
Better Bluetooth?
audio. Well, I don't know if it's necessary, but like I said, I didn't get a chance to see them all myself. I actually got a pair from a company called Velodyne Acoustics, and they make world-renowned subwoofers, and that's how I know them. They sent me a pair right before the show. They went out there to show people, and they're really nice, and I actually forgot to bring them. My bad. But
That's okay next time.
They're really nice. The thing about Bluetooth, like anything, it's distance thing, and it degrades audio, so it's not as good as being hardwired with anything. But the technology's getting better, and I really love the bass on them, and that's because I make subwoofers. That's what's like. Please send me some headphones. I love your subwoofers. I'd love to review your headphones. They sent me their in-ears, and they sent me the on-air Bluetooth versions, and they are just awesome.
All right. And say the name again of this
Velodyne Acoustics.
Velodyne Acoustics.
Yeah, and they're
V-Y-N-E?
Velodyne. Yeah.
Okay.
Velodyne, and they're out of San Carlos? No, what's that? Morgan Hill.
California.
San Antonio.
Morgan Hill.
Play the game, San what?
Not even close. They're in Morgan Hill, next to San Jose. It's so close.
So when's Apple going to replace those horrible little earbuds that you get with them? Because like
they did.
The device is
They came
beautiful.
out with new
They hurt your ears.
They came out with the new one more.
The new ones hurt. The new ones hurt.
Lying on the beach.
Yeah.
I haven't used them. I heard that they're better, but they're still that hard plastic.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I heard they're better. I don't own a pair. I couldn't tell you.
So, sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, and the other thing that you were talking about earlier, which is funny because I was just watching a news segment the other night where a company was installing, they were talking about exercise in the office basically, and they were installing like treadmills and they were showing people typing at their desk on treadmills. Like, I feel like I should do squats while I'm talking about this. More about what you heard in terms of ergonomics. What's happening in that regard? I think I pulled it up.
So ergonomics obviously promotes health, promotes well-being, and things like that. Everyone sits at a desk probably gets that hunched over feeling, and they have to get up every once in a while. And you should get up every couple of minutes, once an hour maybe, right?
And even with your eyes, you're supposed to look for, if you're looking at your computer all day, you're supposed to look at the clock every now and then.
Which I end up with like bug eye, and then pretty soon you're like, I haven't blinked in 15 minutes.
Exactly. So this other company is sending me, and they were at CS as well, I believe, but I'm going to see them at Macworld at the end of the month, and they're called.
Oh crap! Where's Macworld?
It's at the San Francisco.
Moscone Center.
Moscone Center at the end of the month, February 1st, the 28th, the 29th, and the 1st, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Could be wrong. I just registered.
I forgot about that.
Random people. So we hear these little
what's going on?
They're like doorbells.
Ding-a-ling. We got a bunch of ding-a-lings.
Tracy just told me it's random people.
We like ding-a-ling.
Enable our webcams. We welcome you, random people.
We welcome you.
Come on in.
Please tell us what you're sipping on.
Grab a glass of wine.
Open the door. I'm going to take a little moment to say, what is ToutSuite? Now, this is a great opportunity to say that. When you randomly click the wrong button, you may be asked to enable your webcam. I cannot tell you how many times people said, but I'm in curlers.
Even paperback.
And it's like,
turn the lights off.
And they think they're starting our webcam.
Is it like chat roulette, and suddenly we get the naked people in front of us or something?
It's not.
Well, I think we can do Jam a day.
How easy it is to do chat roulette and how hard it is to do.
We can go there.
It's actually.
It's 5 o'clock.
It's fine.
We could go there.
Yeah. And so these little ding dongs that you hear are people that are trying to log in and join us, but then maybe get frightened and back up. Please stay. We're friendly. We're gonna see you right here. What happens when you join the show is we see you on our big screen here, and it's like you're sitting right here with us.
Yeah.
So
we like that.
Keep on doing
We want
that.
to see your beautiful faces.
Curls and all.
Don't be shy, and we're
In your
gonna do this
pajamas.
every day until you do.
That's another thing. We need pajama day. I think we need that pajama day.
What is that?
Okay, you can't offer me to do pajama
You're doing a
day
pajama party with us.
because
It's okay. We want to see you
I
in your
vote for a
onesie.
you guys read the profile that I posted.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't go with pajamas.
And
I
I'll
thought you made-
invite people in the
The 5 o'clock summer, I wanted to,
Okay, so it's
done. Isn't it?
5 o'clock summer is, it's always gonna have, I mean, you're the drink goddess, I mean,
Yeah.
what's
Oh.
what's
Ooh,
the 5
that's
o'clock
a
summer?
worthy title.
And
That's
so
a title.
what was your question?
Well, I like a little further elaboration of what the format is. I know it's kind of freewheeling
Okay.
loose, which is the whole idea
Well,
of ToutSuite. But
Excellent. I'm going to tell you what I told these people. I either saw you in the last couple weeks, or we emailed or something. These are people that I highly admire, and just thought, like, let's just do a show. And I have to say, maybe Allison can understand, and James, because I'm a little bit older than most of the people here, that Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, let's put on a show. And let's everybody just do your thing, and let's do a variety show, and let's make it about like some cool stuff. Well, we know we like food and wine, and cocktails are actually pretty fabulous in Napa Valley.
Yeah.
Well, because you have to sometimes, I mean, God bless you, I love you, Napa Valley, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a break.
Yes.
Yes.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
And this
that would be the
place
worst
is
thing that.
so happening, and especially, and with Carrie and the Napa Valley Film Festival, we have some other things we have to talk about here.
Yeah.
This is not just, now,
Come on in!
Who is it?
Who is
Hi.
that? A visitor?
Pajamas?
Hello?
Oh,
Hello.
hello.
Monday.
Welcome. It was another dingling.
When you want to talk, we're here to listen to you.
No, wait, don't they have just an audio version too that they can do?
Where am I?
Do we have an audio version just that they can do if they didn't want to do FaceTime?
Yes, they phoned in.
Okay.
So can I
Good.
Can I jump in here too? So ToutSuite, as you said, you know, we're giving this a shot. Right now, this is just, we're just trying things, and, you know, we're going to try to not hold back and do whatever we think is interesting to us or what moves us, and have these conversations between each other and with you, because we want you to be a part. But tell us too. Like, we want to hear what you want to see, and then, you know, let's work on it together as well. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
You can communicate with us through Discuss under the page you're on right now. You can tweet us at 5 o'clock. Now, these are kind of hard because, you know, we came into it in the 2010-ishes, right? So all the Twitter and handles were taken. But the year that we started this company, so, you know, or these little brandy things we're doing. So 5 o'clock is the number 5, IVEOCLOCK.
This is where I should have brought my white erase board from last night.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to figure out how to put it into the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or either we should have a very long strip of, and we'll just put it at the bottom. Like
Yeah,
you
we
can see
should
it at the
just
bottom.
write
Look at the
it
bottom
on
of the screen.
paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most likely, if you're on our webpage, you can see it. Because it's
I
right
can
there.
walk across the front of the screen with my baby New Year costume.
So this
I don't even know what that is, but I got scared when you said baby New Year costume.
Well, this onesies thing, this is a new thing to me. I'd never heard of a onesie ever before. Really? And I came here.
We know children have onesies.
What's a onesie?
It's like
the kids?
Yeah.
It's like a baby onesie. It's like a baby.
Yeah, but you never had one?
Well, I probably did have one, but I never. But you know what? Do you know what really shocks me is
If you had a onesie, I'd have to divorce you.
there you go. Supposedly.
There's nothing you look delicious in a
Thank you. Pink.
Okay, keep going.
The really bizarre thing is that the Deputy Prime Minister in the UK is a guy called Nick Clegg, and he came out last week saying that he has a onesie. Well, he has a onesie, and I don't know what color the onesie is, and just this idea of like males Like
Yeah.
adult males wearing onesies. It just sounds wrong.
There must be a new
So
kind
he,
of onesie
so
I don't
it
know
goes
about.
under
Yeah.
his butt, and
Yeah.
he pins it. You
pajamas.
know,
I'm
he
I'm
has
so
a little
frustrated. I can't
Is it
recall
a
the
onesie,
film.
or is it like union suit?
Oh.
See, I don't
A
even know.
union suit.
And then
is,
Is
is okay. Yeah, it is a onesie.
It is a
Yeah.
No,
So we need to
it's not.
revisit this. A union suit is like a full-on
it's not.
Under armor.
Fine,
We're
fine,
gonna
fine.
settle this on pajama day.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We need a pajama.
We'll come back to that.
We need
pajama
everyone
day.
who's viewing in right now.
Argue whether
Tell
it's
us
a
when
union suit or a onesie on pajama day.
Well, I'm actually an advocate for the twosie.
The Tuesday.
The twosie, two pieces.
Can you officially take my seat? That's awesome.
It's pajamas, it's just bottoms and a
Two
top.
pieces. Oh, the
It's a
twosie.
twosie.
Okay.
It's not a onesie, it's a twosie.
All right.
I think it's usually what you do in the past.
Okay.
Shouldn't talk about that.
You're like
I
have a question for Johnny. Johnny, since you're into the tech business and all that, what is the next thing coming up? You think that is pretty exciting that people have been working on, and what is going into that?
Okay, so I think there's a lot of the big next thing, and I wrote about it about a year ago. And so one thing is going to be wireless technology, which I'm not a huge fan of just yet.
I've got one of these phones that's wireless now. You can talk to anybody
Oh,
almost
wireless.
anywhere.
Are you sure?
Hello.
I'm sorry. Hello? Oh.
Oh, that was
Okay, back to
okay, keep going.
Back to next big
Can
thing.
I ask quickly, actually, everybody's time when you have a Bluetooth onesie.
What would it do?
Exactly.
Wow.
The answer is yes.
I guess the question is, what would
Maybe.
it do?
Oh, this is bad. Never mind.
Okay. Okay, the next big thing.
Next big thing.
So, like I talk about, I do automation and controls and things, and I hate to go to a friend's house to turn the TV on and watch the game or something simple. It takes a minimum of 3 to 4 minutes. The fog, this audio.
Hi, Anita. Oh,
Oh,
hi, Anita.
Anita's chopping vegetables.
You need to speak out loud, Anita. They can't read the chat.
Hi, Tia.
Hi, Anita. Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. So what do you think will be the next big thing in tech?
I just got here. I totally have no clue what you guys are talking about.
Oh, okay. So we're getting a few ideas. Okay, so do continue.
Anita,
Okay.
are you just getting out of the shower?
Quite possibly. Why? Can you see me at all?
Is it wireless?
This is awesome.
Sorry,
Tony's
Anita.
like, by the time I get to
Sorry,
tell you
yeah.
the next big thing, it's not going to be the next big
It'll
thing.
be right.
It already
be over.
We missed it.
Yeah.
No, one of the next big things is it's a control. So everyone's familiar probably with Microsoft Connect, the little
Yeah.
motion bar. You're the controller for the game.
Yeah.
Microsoft just bought this studio. They bought this studio called R2 Studios, who was run by a gentleman named Blake Krikorian. And he had this automation system, which I sell, program design, called Restaurant Automation. And he wanted an Android application for his home, which was not developed yet. So he took it upon himself. He's like, well, if you're not going to make it, I'm going to make it. So he made it for himself and then decided to build his own startup. Prior to that, he was doing this thing called Slingbox, that allows you to watch your TV record on your box on the internet. So if you're at work and you want to watch your recorded movies, you just pull it up on your computer, your cell phone, whatever. He did that, and now he sold his startup company to Microsoft. Now he worked for Microsoft as the VP of this division, where Microsoft is going to most likely use the motion controllers to turn the TV on, motions, gestures, send information to the TV. Prior to this, about a year ago, they were already doing this with the Motion Connect stuff, and it's not available to me and you, but they're already doing it, where you have a Connect bar above your TV, you have one in here, and it's probably the biggest thing in classrooms. So kids have their little tablets. Everyone has a smartphone these days, a tablet. And on the TV in front of them, say that's the new chalkboard. It's an interactive thing where the kids can be a part of whatever's going on up there, and they can send information gesture-wise to the board.
My daughter's chemistry teacher has one of those in his classroom, but I don't know if they're using the tablets yet, but he has a full electronic chalkboard. He doesn't have a regular chalkboard.
So very much like that, and then
My
it just
daughter
goes to
has
that,
the same thing.
and he can take your information that you sent to the TV,
Yeah.
touch it, and interact, and say, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Carrie just sent me this photo, and that's the guy I'm talking about, and manipulate it, and then via motion and such, we can all interact with it, like we're doing now, but without.
And then they all get to know.
Exactly, and then it's all stored to the cloud or wherever.
And it actually makes the triangles more perfect.
But it seems to be a lot of the stuff that we take for granted now, our iPhones, a lot of that, you've seen them in, Star Trek, Star Wars, like these kind of old movies, and now it's reality. A lot of those things we're talking about now, like Minority Report, it seems to be every developer in the world watched Minority Report and thought, I want to do that. That this kind of thing where you're now walking past adverts and they're saying, "Hi, Johnny, you might want to have a nice bourbon just now," and it's really recognizing you. And the latest one I heard was on the new Google goals about the connection between that and your Google Plus account and using facial recognition. So as I walk into this room, it's automatically pulling up the data on that person, telling me who they are. So when I go and speak to them, I've already got their background, their info there.
And don't we all, well, maybe it's just me. I'll just speak for myself. Like, such a cool factor and also such a creepy factor. It's like, just put a microchip in me now, and we'll have...
But they're doing that as well.
So what you're talking about, you have your cell phone and you walk to, say, down to Pete's Coffee, Starbucks, wherever, and your phone pops up.
Yeah.
And because perhaps maybe you bought coffee from them in the past, or they know that you're nearby. And now there's going to be an advertisement saying, if you come in, you get a free coffee because you're near enough. Your smartphone tells you via satellite, and you might be inclined to go buy something from Starbucks if you weren't a customer prior to that.
So you could be walking down Main Street or First Street in Napa, and you're getting the alert saying, this place has a deal on the new cab. This place has a new deal on the new Pinot Noir for this year. So you're getting all these kind of alerts that are going on as well.
And that's an interesting thing that I think MIT was working on 10 or 15 years ago is about what's the value of your privacy? What can we get compensated for our check-in?
For your
and
personal information.
We might get a cup of coffee, but those are the kind of things that need to be rewarded to people to give up their information.
Hey, I want to talk about James's element being at the corner of Main and First and Napa. And anybody that comes down there looking for real estate, that's where my office is, and I will buy them coffee.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, you
that's
can
an offer.
hook up with some.
I know we're coming up to the last few minutes, but Johnny, again, what is the most stupid technology coming up right now?
The most stupid.
Something like, I can
if you
believe
don't.
that's coming up, and this thing is like the one.
I have one if you don't.
No, please do. I'm drawing a blank. I've seen.
Okay, I have one. I have one that immediately came to mind, and it has nothing to do with this question. But we actually were watching CNN recently, and they were showing a guy, I think, one of these conferences. I don't follow them religiously, but they had a spoon that counted your calories, or a fork that counts your calories how many forkfuls are you having? It's like a baby fork, and it has remember when we saw that?
I know.
But you left before they finished it, and so they were like, okay.
Does it do it by weight? Is weight incorporated? Because even though it's a baby spoon, you can pile on something to that fork and be like, we're only having 10 calories right now.
I've heard in at least a month. Which
terrible.
was the terrible fork that you wouldn't use.
You forget it somewhere. You're at a restaurant. It doesn't know the calories. It's not programmed.
And I have to give a little credit to CNN, which I don't like to do very frequently.
Boo.
Yeah, but Ashley Banfield started cracking up, and she goes, "Oh, is it your fork? Is it the fact you're eating salmon and salad that you lost weight? Like you're eating." So he was doing the demo with a salmon, some nice grilled salmon and salad, and you're not eating a hamburger. And she started cracking up, and she lost it. And then she realized she'd done something bad, and so she started laughing more. Because you're not supposed to, so the guy that was her correspondent was like, okay, I'll ask him. Ashley said, is it the fact that you're eating really healthy food? And the whole thing devolved suddenly, and Ashley's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired now.
I saw the same episode.
Did you?
And from that point forward, I don't think Ashley Banfield seriously is a journalist.
Well, I love her. I'm sorry, I just noticed you're eating salmon. Is that maybe the reason you lost weight and not the fork?
She was hot when the golf course started, though. I'll tell you what.
Anyway, for the segment.
I think that, I'll just have to say, that is the dumbest tech thing. It's the baby fork that tracks how many times you put it in your mouth.
It kind of fits in perfectly, you know? It's just so bad.
Yeah.
So bad it's good.
Bad.
Well, now it's 6 o'clock-ish somewhere.
Yeah, it's 6
It is
o'clock
6 o'clock-ish
somewhere.
somewhere.
Although it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
Hey, should there be an episode of,
Wait, no,
It
it's
is
not.
still, it's not 5
Bad
o'clock
Girls at 5
here.
o'clock?
It's not 5 o'clock anywhere.
I think it is. We have a
No
website.
way.
We can look
So
at.
what's coming up tomorrow? Maybe
Yeah,
we should
what's
tell
coming
people
up?
about it
Oh,
as
yeah.
we shut this
It's
one
5
out.
a.m. in Islamabad.
Oh, well, I was thinking PM.
Yeah, so it is. It is. I have a website that I look up to make sure we know it is 5 o'clock somewhere. And now, when it's 5:30,
Susan, what are we doing tomorrow?
it's not. What are we doing tomorrow?
No, he had said it, and I got really excited. I was like, wait, what are we doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow is film day.
Ooh.
Oh.
Bring your A game,
And
Carrie.
we're going to bring you
I know.
some amazing things. We have some cool hosts. We have Film Wednesday,
We get
Food
popcorn.
Thursday.
We get
Oh, I
popcorn
can make
tomorrow.
popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn.
I like food.
You gotta have popcorn.
Are we going to have the truffle sauce?
The truffle.
The fake
Popcorn.
truffle sauce.
Yeah.
And then Friday wine. And we have a lot of fun coming up. You're going to meet the rest of the hosts of 5 o'clock somewhere throughout the rest of this week. And I just want to say thank you to Tia Butt,
Yeah.
Johnny Mota,
Oh.
Sounds like an awesome cheese.
Terry Hardy,
Yay.
our sweetheart, yay, James Taylor, the original James Taylor,
Yes, not the singer, not that singer.
Bolin Wider,
AKA the meat doctor.
The meat doctor.
Meat Master,
She's a meat scientist.
our Jazzy Veggie.
Jazzy veggie.
Oh no, the carnivore and the herbivore sitting next to each
Yeah.
other.
Jazzy Veggie, Allison Burns, who may someday bring upon some talent to the show. Reluctant participant, DDA Lusto.
Yeah.
Yay.
And bartender, very happy bartender. And our guest tonight in the live studio audience, David Bridges.
Yeah. And also Chris Guillebeau.
Chris
Who was
Guillebeau,
great.
who
Oh, yeah.
totally gave us an amazing experience tonight.
Yeah,
Again, check out his book.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
The Van Moment.
Check it out.
And visit his blog, The Art of Non-Conformity.
Great blog.
I highly recommend.
Who was the lady that I tried very hard to look at this person?
Anita.
Anita!
Anita, thank you for
Thanks for
walking
joining.
with me.
Anita!
Anita says she'll check out the blog.
What's the
Mhm.
meaning
All
of
right.
that?
Excellent.
Anita
What's
said
the last
she's
name?
checking out the blog.
Galumian.
Yep,
Anita Galumian.
she'll be
Anita says,
back.
"Woohoo."
Woohoo! Anita says woohoo. All right, Twitter and other ways of joining the show. So we hope to see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock in Napa Valley, 5 o'clock somewhere. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Okay, bye. Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Look at the black.
Maybe-
Sure.